Hi everyone, Lori Marie here, mixed media artist in Vallejo, California. It is June and we are doing the June background challenge. Today is actually June 7th, so I've gone ahead and caught up until today. So I have 7 small backgrounds done, and what my intention is to use these backgrounds in July with focal points and to make a book with them. So up until now, just the backgrounds using different textures, bubble wrap, doodles, crisscross markings, texture paste, gesso, gel. I use my jelly plate. So there's a few different techniques in the pages, in the 7 pages that I've made so far. So I want to share a little something with you. I've had a fragile week here in Vallejo, California. I made a mistake, and I have made amends for that mistake, and I have not been able to let go of the mistake. I have not been able to forgive myself for making said mistake. And so Tuesday night I was with my grandbabies. Preston is a year and a half and Parker is now 5, and I had a wagon and I just caught the front part of Parker's toes, and Parker said, "Nana, you just ran over my toes." And I said, "Oh my gosh, Parker, I am so sorry." And he put his hand on me and he said, "That's okay, Nana, just try not to do it again." And I think that was my message from my God, telling me that it is human to make mistakes, and I have made my amends, and now I have to try not to repeat that again. I have to try not to do that again. So that is my story of humility today. I share that on Patreon exclusively. So I hope this gives you permission to forgive yourself and to try not to do it again if you have made a mistake in the past week. So there you have it. I'm not going to write instructions for these backgrounds. We are going to just play with them, and you can watch the video and maybe get some inspiration. All right, see you on the table. And we are the Village of Painted Hands. All right, this is going to be the cover. This is with the duct tape. This is with the chalk and gesso and circles and markings. This was with the jelly plate. This was a background with a leftover jelly plate with some embossing powder. This one has some acrylic in the background with an image that I scratched away, and this is texture paste. This was another one off the jelly plate, and I used the doily as a stencil with a little bit of shimmer ink sprayed on there. And then this was with alcohol inks, and then the piece of the doily that I actually used as a stencil for this page. So that's what we have for now. All right, let's get this party started. This is my first day doing our backgrounded day with different techniques. I have 3x4 pieces of wine box inserts. I have some gears. I have the packaging from the gears, which seems pretty fun. Look at that. That is way fun. We are going to play with that. I'm going to cut some of that packaging that the gears came in. Oh, that's very fun. And take a glue dot, stick that down. Then I'm going to stick some gears in these open spots, also with the glue dots. Just going to have fun and fill the page. Alright, I have all the gears on there with the small glue dots. I have these large glue dots, Let's see if I can stick that down onto that card and just add some texture. Beautiful. Large dot, large dot, large dot, large dot, large dot. The rest are gears. This is the back packaging from the gears, which is very fun. Bring in my duct tape. Cut some pieces. These can be as big or as small as you would like. And then just cover your entire surface, whatever you're working on, with that duct tape. If you kink the corner, if you bend the corner, it will come off the backing a little bit easier. All right, there we go. I'm going to bring in my metal blending tool. This is my big one. Let's see if it's... Might use a smaller one. I'm going to use a smaller one than that. I'm just going to go through the whole thing and push it down. Looks pretty good. Take some Van Dyke Brown Hue, which is a fluid acrylic paint. My baby blue. Just brush that on the entire piece. I'm going to let that stay on there for just a moment. Then I'm going to wipe it off. You can leave as much on there as you would like. That is our first background with texture. Okay, good morning. Handsome hubby is outside breaking up concrete. I'm going to work on a couple of tags at a time here, a couple of background pieces at a time, because I am a little behind. So I'm just cutting corners on these. Sometimes the corners aren't smooth, so I just bring in a little bit of sandpaper. Can you hear that thump in the background? That is handsome hubby breaking up concrete, building a shed back there. Since we're going to be doing a background today, I will not be putting underpants on each and every one. Each one will have somewhat of a different background going on, or at least that is my intention. So these two I'm just going to paint with some white gesso and set them aside and let them dry. Now for this one, I have to say that I watched part of a video by France Papillon. If you haven't seen her work, she's amazing. And that's what inspired this process, this technique. It's not exactly what she does, but she did light a fire. So this is gesso and water, just diluted. Bring in a chalk pastel. The chalk pastels come in sticks and pans and blocks like this. So just a bit of the chalk pastel, some of the diluted gesso, paint that up, let that dry. Bring in another color of the pastel, chalk pastel, some of the diluted gesso, Let that dry. Bring in a third color. Diluted gesso. Let that dry. Add some more gesso to that. It's not very diluted now. Bring in a lid. This is from one of my marking pens. And I'm just going to make some circles on the background. And we'll let that dry. This is a little bit of the Van Dyke Brown. I'm just going to make some markings down the side. I'm going to bring in a little bit of sandpaper and just scuff this up just a little bit. Bring in my Stabilo. Go around the edge of the piece. Our little background piece. And ta-da! Another background. That's ready for a focal point for sure. Okay, this one we're just going to paint with some yellow. Let that dry. A little bit of red. Drag that around. I'm going to glue down an image. Not that I expect it to show through anything, but I am going to glue one down. Bring in the texture paste and a bit of a stencil. Let that dry. Bring in the black gesso. Let that dry. So I took some sandpaper to this, brought up some of the texture of the image. Bring in the Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide. Some black soot distress ink. A touch of wild honey distress oxide. And another gorgeous background. Workspace getting smaller. So we're going to start this one off with some underpants. A very light layer of gesso. Let that dry. Bringing out everything but the kitchen sink. Bringing out my jelly plate, putting some paint on that. Beautiful. While I have that here, I might as well just sop up the extra on some other cardboard. Don't want to waste it, of course. A little bit of purple. A little bit of metallic gold. stencil. Beautiful. I'm going to stabilo the edges and call it done. Okay, so this is one of the backgrounds that I had just soaked up from the jelly plate. So we are going to use that as the background. And I'm bringing in it's a watermark stamp pad to add a little bit of moisture to the background here with a rubber stamp. And then I'm going to add some embossing powder to that. Shake off the excess. I'm going to hit this with my heat gun. I added some more over here. I'm going to hit that with my heat gun. Hit the edges with my Stabilo. And this little background is done. Ta-da! Right, this is another page that I soaked up some of the jelly pad with, the jelly plate. So I've got some fun paint here and a blending sponge. I'm going to put this on here and just add some paint through that doily. Very, very fun. Do we want a little bit more in here? Maybe like that. Gorgeous. Some Stabilo around that. Spit and smudge. I have some Pure Sunshine by Delusions. And I'm just going to splatter that on there. Let it dry. All right, I have this juicy jelly plate with lots and lots of stuff built up on it. So I'm just going to put some white acrylic paint down. I have a couple of pages that have something something on them, but not enough something something. Oh, that's nice. Soak up that background, huh? Okay. So this is the card that we're going to play with. I just brought in some alcohol inks to play with. A couple drops of this, a couple drops of that. So this is a piece of that doily that we used. So I am going to put that on here. Yep, along the side. Stabilo around the edges. And ta-da! go create, go play, go have fun.